The mistakes we make do not define us, they prepare us for the awakening of the soul. Centuries ago, in a small mountain village in the east, there lived a man named Harun. He was known by all as Harun the Cunning, but not for wisdom nor kindness. He was the most notorious thief in the region. For years he deceived, stole, and manipulated those around him. He was a master of escaping consequences, but his life felt hollow. He barely slept, always fearing capture, and he grew more and more alone. Harun was a haunted man. On the outside, he seemed indifferent to the damage he caused, but inside, he carried a weight that suffocated him. Every night, dreams tormented him, faces of those he'd harmed, demanding justice. His reputation was so vile, children would cross the street to avoid him. At night, the laughter of families echoed through the village, but to Harun, that sound felt like a dagger to the heart. He often asked himself, "Why does no one accept me? Why is my life like this?" One day, while attempting to rob the home of a spiritual master, Harun was caught, but not in the way he expected. The old master, meditating by candlelight, sensed his presence. He didn't shout. He didn't call for guards. Instead, he looked at Harun calmly and said, "You look tired, my son. Come, sit with me." Harun froze. No one had ever reacted like that. His curiosity won. He sat down. The room was simple, lit only by the soft glow of the candle. A hint of incense lingered in the air. And for the first time in years, Harun felt peace. The master poured him tea and asked gently, "Why do you live this way? Always in the shadows? Always running?" Harun lowered his head, ashamed. For the first time, he faced his own choices. With a trembling voice, he said, I don't know who else I could be. I've always been like this. Maybe I don't deserve another life." The master smiled. "We are all born with the power to change. Your mistakes do not define who you are. They show you who you can become. Every wrong step was just a detour, not the end of your path." Those words pierced something deep within Harun. His throat tightened. Tears streamed down his face. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel the pain, the loneliness, and above all, the possibility of redemption. In the days that followed, Harun stayed with the master. He began learning about self-awareness, forgiveness, and purpose. The master taught with patience, sharing simple stories and metaphors that spoke directly to Harun's soul. One day, they walked through the forest. Pointing to a tree growing crooked, the master said, "See that tree? It grew that way because of years of strong winds. But still, it grew. It offers shade. It bears fruit. We are the same, Harun. Our struggles shape us, but they don't define us." Harun began to see his past differently. He saw the pain he caused, but also the possibility to heal. He started by forgiving himself. Then, he went to those he had hurt. He apologized. He offered to make things right. Years passed. Harun became a respected spiritual teacher. He traveled from village to village, sharing his story and teaching that it's never too late to change. He often said, "My greatest mistakes were my greatest teachers. They showed me the weight of the suffering I caused and the lightness of the soul when we choose transformation." The story reaches its peak when Harun, now an old man, returns to his hometown. There, he meets a young woman, living on the edges of society, committing petty crimes, shunned by all. Harun gently approaches and says, "I've been where you are. I know what it feels like to be lost, to have no hope. But listen, your mistakes do not define who you are. What you choose to do with them does." Touched by his words, the young woman begins her own journey of transformation. That moment becomes a symbol, a cycle of learning and renewal, a reminder that one transformed life can inspire many more to follow. The mistakes we make don't define us. They prepare us for the awakening of the soul. This sentence echoes like a soft yet powerful whisper, not just in Harun's story, but in our own lives as well. How often do we find ourselves stuck in the weight of the past, carrying guilt and regret like invisible chains? Harun teaches us that those chains can be broken, not by ignoring what we've done, but by transforming our mistakes into lessons. Harun's journey touches on universal themes: the burden of poor choices, the search for redemption, and the power of forgiveness from others and from ourselves. He shows us that mistakes aren't dead ends, they're detours. Yes, every mistake leaves a mark, but those marks can become scars of growth, stories that tell who we were and who we've become. Now think for a moment. How many times have you felt like Harun? Lost, ashamed, convinced that your mistakes were too heavy to carry, too big to overcome? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. We all stumble. We all mess up. But what defines our journey is not the stumble. It's what we choose to do after it. Harun chose to look inward, to face his failures, to begin repairing the harm he'd caused. And that choice changed everything. In Buddhism, there's a concept called karma. It's not about punishment or reward, but about the natural consequences of our actions. Every decision we make, good or bad, creates ripples, both in our lives and in the lives of others. Harun realized this when he saw how his mistakes had left scars, not only on himself, but on everyone around him. But he also discovered something deeper: the idea of dharma, a path of purpose and integrity. When he chose to walk that path, everything began to shift. One of the most powerful lessons in this story is that self-forgiveness is the first step toward real change. So often, we're harder on ourselves than on anyone else. We demand perfection, forgetting that imperfection is what makes us human. When Harun began to forgive himself, he opened the door to healing. And from that healing came the strength to help others. He visited the people he had wronged. He apologized. He offered help. It might sound simple, but it's a powerful act. Have you ever thought about doing something like that? Maybe writing a letter to someone you've hurt, or quietly acknowledging a mistake and choosing to do better from this moment on? Another key message is this: your positive impact can inspire others. When Harun met that young woman in his village, the one who was walking a path similar to the one he once walked, he didn't just give her advice. He showed her that change is possible. Just imagine the power of that. How many people around you are silently waiting for someone to believe in them? Sometimes, the greatest transformation we can offer the world is to help someone else see their own light. This channel grows, not just with stories and reflections, but with the actions of each one of you. When you subscribe, when you leave a like, you help this message reach others who may need it, just like you did. Make a difference now. Hit subscribe, leave a like, and don't forget to check the pinned comment. You'll find a free mini ebook there, filled with ancient practices for clarity and stillness in daily life. And what if I told you that everything you need to begin your own transformation is already within you? You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need all the answers. Just like Harun, you can begin right now.